Welcome to the 9 Elements Podcast, brought to you by Restore Hyper Wellness. I'm your host, Eric Hinman. Each week, I sit down with trailblazers in the fitness, nutrition, and wellness communities, exploring how they optimize their daily lives for ultimate performance to do more of what they love. I'm a 5-time Ironman athlete, brand builder, and someone who is obsessed with health and wellness, structuring much of my day around fitness and recovery protocols. On today's episode, I chat with my good friend, Khalil Rafati. At 33 years old, Khalil weighed 109 pounds and was living on the streets of Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles, addicted to heroin and cocaine. With nowhere to go but up, he decided to get sober. Then he discovered juicing. Now a yoga instructor and owner of Sunlife Organics, Khalil is called the Malibu Juice Magnate and wrote his own harrowing book, I Forgot to Die. Khalil recently moved to Austin to expand the Sunlife Organics presence and has continued to be an inspiration to all. Good morning, Khalil. How you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I got a shirt on for once. There's few and far between when I have a shirt on when I see you.
Thank God. Thank God. That last post you did where you're like flexing and doing a selfie. Which is rare for you.
It is.
That just, it ruined my whole fucking week. I called my trainer and I said, we have to add more days, add more protein. This is not fair.
Your new thing is 1% better every day, right? So then you're like calling your trainer, you're like, hey, we need 3% better every day.
Yeah, we need to bump 3%? It up.
Yeah, you need to bump this up a bit.
You are my inspiration.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. You inspire me. So Khalil has an amazing story, which I'm so excited to dive into. You were on Skid Row, addicted to heroin at one point, and then you wrote a book called I Forgot to Die. I Forgot to Die. And now you have one of my favorite restaurants in the world called Sunlife Organics. And I first met you via Instagram probably back in like 2017, 2016. It was 5 or 6 years ago. And I had posted a photo of my bowl that I was having at the Malibu location, and you DM'd me. You said, hey, brother, welcome. Like, so stoked that you're at my shop, and I'd love to buy you a smoothie bowl. That was so kind of you, and that instantly left an impression of, like, this is someone who cares. And, you know, that's why I know you've been so successful now, is because you care. So let's backtrack a bit. I mean, we can get into where you are now, but I'd love to backtrack and just, you know, hear a little bit about your story. I've listened to some other podcasts that you've been on, and, you know, I just think it's so fascinating when, you know, you can go from basically the bottom, you know, to you're pretty goddamn close to the top now. So walk me through childhood and walk me through like some of those decisions looking back that, you know, got you on Skid Row, addicted to drugs.
Yeah, I'm always nowadays hesitant to talk about that stuff because I used to kind of wear my pain and the shit that I went through as a badge of honor. And then after years of recovery, I realized that everybody goes through shit. Everybody. Yeah. And pain is pain. But, you know, for anybody in the audience who is not familiar with my story, just I'll quickly go through sort of the basics. Both of my parents were immigrants. My mom came from Poland. My father came from Palestine. Both of them went through absolute hell. My father was 12 years old when the United Nations decided that Palestine was no longer Palestine and it would become Israel. And they went from living on a olive orchard that my grandfather had saved his whole life to purchase, and to living in tents, and eventually being adopted by the country of Jordan, which I did not find out until, oh God, my late 40s. I didn't know about my dad's Jordanian citizenship, and we can go back to that. My mother was born in Poland, born a Jew. Abandoned by her mother on two sisters' doorsteps, and those two sisters and my mother were then marched off during the war through Poland into Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and all the way up into Siberia with about 1.7, 1.9 somewhere million Polish people who were then forced into labor, put into labor camps. And 2/3 of those people died. My mother survived. If I do have any strength, I attribute most of it to her. She got TB, and she was, after the war, sent to a sanitarium, paid for by the Swedish government. And while she was in that sanitarium, unfortunately, they removed her thyroid. So she ended up having health issues her whole life and depression and struggled with her weight. My mom was a beautiful, wonderful soul, a terrible mother because she didn't know how to be a mother. And my father was a violent monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so interesting how, putting yourself in someone's shoes, I always think about that, whenever I look at someone and I think about what they're doing in the moment or what they've done, like you just have no idea what their past experiences were to be able to understand what has shaped their current reality. And yeah, I mean, so many people appreciate you talking about this, to know that you can get over this. You can, figure out practices to get over that anger and get over that abuse. And it's certainly not easy, but I would have to assume that through nutrition, through fitness, through your sauna practice, which I know you do, a lot of these things, they've helped me a lot. I had a great childhood growing up. I'm very fortunate. But like anyone, I've had bad experiences in life, and I've realized that through, health and wellness, through fitness, eating healthy, sauna, cold exposure, all of these things, it has just made me much more even-keeled. It's built my grit, and I don't get stressed out nearly as easy anymore. And I certainly don't think about the past. I'm in the present. I'm looking to the future. I'm not, reminiscing. I'm not mad about past experiences. I'm just able to like have these blinders of like, I'm in the moment right now, and I'm setting goals for the future.
Yeah. And here's one of the great ironies. So yes, I've managed to crawl my way out of hell and, put the plug in the jug, so to speak. I wasn't a drinker. Heroin and cocaine were my thing. And I used to shoot them together because that's just what felt best. So crawled my way out of hell, get to where I am now. Pretty fucking happy, pretty amazing life, pretty awesome business, amazing girlfriend. I was at the DMV yesterday getting custom plates, which my whole life I've made fun of people that had custom plates. I just anytime I saw somebody with custom plates, I would just be like, what a fucking douchebag, or what an idiot, or look at that. In hindsight, they were usually driving a really nice car. Yep. And I wasn't. Yep. And I was looking for a reason to hate on them.
Yep. It's within you.
And yeah, so I was getting my custom plates, and the woman that was helping me, everyone in Austin is nice for the most part, but she was just particularly nice. When I went to pay, I couldn't help myself. I could have paid with another card, but I just finally got that black card. Yeah. And I went to pay with the black card. She lost her fucking mind. She was more excited about it than I was. And she said, you did it, man. And I said, I did. But back to the ironic part, had my dad not beaten me to within an inch of my life, had I not gone through the shit that I went through as a child, had I had a mother who wasn't capable of loving me because she was suffering from Stockholm Syndrome, I wouldn't be living this life, and I wouldn't be appreciating my life as much as I am. Like I like, my great joys are gardening and playing with my cats, and like you said, getting in the sauna every day, and I've got the cold tub, and I go over to Collective and hang out with all those cool people, and I really appreciate my life, and I'm happy most of the time. Not early in the mornings, but most of my day I'm pretty happy. Had I not gone through what I went through, I wouldn't appreciate things the way that I do, and I don't think there's any chance in hell I could have achieved what I achieved, because remember, I didn't start any of this shit until I was 30. I was 35. I was a couple years sober. I was working at this rehab, and I was just happy to have a job because I couldn't get a fucking job anywhere at first. I had to clean apartments and wash dogs, and there was no family money. There was no generational wealth. There was no nepotism. There was no nothing. And no one wanted to hire me because I fucking looked terrible. I mean, my teeth were falling out of my head. I had, blotches all over my face. I was working at this place called The Canyon. And this guy that was a client there who eventually ended up becoming my sponsee, who eventually ended up becoming my best friend, he said, "Hey, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?" I'm like, "Dude, we're in fucking rehab. You can ask me anything you want. Like, that's what we're supposed to do here.
Nothing's off limits."
Yeah. And he said, he goes, "How much they paying you?" And I said, $14 an hour. And he goes, you got to aim a little higher. And when he said it, it felt like somebody had punched me in the stomach without me being prepared for a punch. And I said, I got medical insurance. I got dental insurance. I was so proud of having medical insurance for the first time in like 20 years, 15 years. I got defensive. And he said, "Look, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but like, where do you live?" And I said, I live on ZoomRes. And he said, "How do you live on ZoomRes?" And I said, "I live at my sponsor's house." And he goes, "Okay. Well, you're 35. And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Eventually you're going to want to have your own apartment. Eventually you're going to want to have your own house. Eventually you're going to want to have a girlfriend, a wife, whatever. You got to aim a little bit higher." And man, that fucking hurt, but it was so true.
Yeah.
And I think with just as the little amount of time that we spent together, and even here on the podcast, you can tell I'm not educated. I'm a high school dropout. I'm a convicted felon. I can't spell and I can't type. But that didn't stop me from writing a best-selling book that's being sold all over the world in different languages. And it didn't stop me from starting multiple businesses. And again, that hunger and that drive came from that pain. So anytime somebody reaches out to me and they're in a ton of pain, I always encourage them to get excited, because that's where the fucking magic happens. That's where the change begins to happen, right? Tony Robbins, we don't act out of inspiration. We act out of desperation.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I mean, this goes back to your current motto of 1% better every day. It really comes down to the daily execution. And Canyons is in Malibu or close to Malibu, correct?
Yeah.
So obviously a very wealthy area. So you had access to things that would broaden your mind. You would see these beautiful homes. You would see these amazing lifestyles. And I do think that being able to see those things definitely opens your mind to what is possible. So I'm sure that helps some of like, oh, wow, that's possible. I can have a G-Wagon. I can have a private plane. I can have a beautiful house. And then you had the drive and you had that courage to execute day in and day out. And, having known you for a little bit now, like, I know you care about things. You care about people. And, that's such an important quality to have. Being super authentic, caring about others, and caring about your business, caring about your customers coming in and having an amazing experience. And relationships, like, you're very good at building and maintaining relationships, again, because you care. And I always say that, who you know, and not in like a douchebag way, but like who you know is so much more important than what you know. And it's, having lots of relationships with people. And, a lot of that is like giving, and not expecting anything in return, but knowing that eventually the universe will reciprocate. So, introducing people and, just like helping others all the time, like it's gonna come back to you. So you're at the Canyons, you're doing kind of odd jobs. Give me the backstory of when, nutrition started to come into your life, when fitness started to come into your life, and, ultimately the founding of this incredible smoothie place you have, Sunlife Organics. How did that come about?
Well, as with most things and as with most men, everything goes back to the mom, right? As much as my mom was a horrible mom when I was a child, she still always tried to give me nourishment. My mom was into yoga in the 70s, and my mom was into organic food before anybody knew what organic food was. Juicing, all that stuff, even like the weird, like the energy boards, that we like charge our foods on now. Like my mom had the old timey versions of those things and the crystals everywhere. Yeah. Wow. So it started with my mom, even though I resented it. She would always try to hand me like plates of vitamins, and I would be like, I don't want to fucking take that, And I'm talking about like as a teenager or sure. like, getting closer to my 20s. But when I sobered up and I bottomed out, and I found myself in that hopeless state of despair. And also for context, people can Google me, or they don't have to buy my book, but you can look at the cover of my book. I was 109 pounds when I went to treatment. 109 pounds. I'm 170 pounds today. So to go from being a walking corpse with my teeth falling out of my head started with my friend Sean that I used to get high with that sobered up on his own. And Sean's one of those like weirdo hippie vegan Volkswagen bus, like eating sprouts of fenugreek and broccoli sprouts and drinking burdock root and just real fucking like tree hugging, no, he wasn't wearing shoes 25 years ago, just because as a yoga teacher and as a masseuse, it didn't make sense to him to have that cushioning. Like he thought it was like bad for his body. And 25 years later, now we're all sort of, thinking that way. But Sean, I reached out to Sean. I was living at this biker guy, not bicyclist, but like biker with the tattoos and in NA. He was letting me stay with him to pay off a debt to somebody who had pity on me. And they said, let this kid stay with you and you don't owe me anything. So he was making me go to meetings, which I needed to, thank God. And he was letting me stay there for free, but I didn't have any food and I couldn't get a job. I mean, I just looked so disgusting. And I reached out to Sean, and Sean brought me up just like bags of like raw macadamia nuts and avocados and this greens powder by Pure Synergy Company in Moab. Yeah. And he was like, here, and I was fucking starving. I didn't like take it like, oh cool, I want to be healthy. I was starving and I had no choice. So I'm like eating the avocados, taking the macadamia nuts, drinking the juices that he would bring me in mason jars. And I began to expel like just bile, and black stuff would come out of me. And I started to see like life in my face again. I started to get like some coloring in my face again. And my hair started getting thicker, and my frame started to fill out a little bit more. He would bring me cases of coconuts that he would get in downtown LA, and I would drink the coconut water. I'm talking, this is 19 years ago, long before you could go out, walk into a grocery store and buy coconut water. You couldn't back then unless it was canned. So that was kind of the beginning. And like any good addict, I just grabbed onto it like a drowning man seizing a life preserver. Like the more life force I felt going into me, the better I felt. And then it was a couple of years until I could afford a gym membership. I didn't know about the YMCA at that time, but I got a gym membership, and I started doing sauna, and I started doing long before anybody ever spoke of cold exposure. The Scientologist, my friend was a Scientologist, and he told me for addiction that I should be getting in the sauna for 20 minutes while I would slowly, incrementally build up my intake of niacin. And I added a Boar's hair brush that I would scrub myself with. That was my mom's trick. She said, scrub your lymph, scrub where your lymph nodes are, scrub under your armpits, scrub in your crotch. So I would get in the sauna at this gym and take niacin and get in the sauna for 20 minutes. And then I would take an ice cold shower for 3 minutes and then sauna for 20 minutes. And I would do that back and forth. And that's when I really started to see some massive, massive shifts in my physical appearance take place. And then, lifting weights and getting some food in my body. I quit smoking when I was 4 years sober. That also was a big, you stop like, if you think about it, every time like I drink some of this incredible matcha, I'm telling my body that I love it and that I honor it and I'm nurturing it. Or every time I drink a smoothie or eat a grass-fed, grass-finished steak. Well, it's the opposite with something like a cigarette. Every time every time you take a drag of a cigarette, you're subliminally saying to yourself, I hate you. Yeah. I hate you and I want you to die. Yeah. And it's the same with alcohol. If you're drinking it in a way that you shouldn't be, define that for yourself. Yep. So Sean got me going. The sauna, started to see some massive changes. And then the truth is, Eric, I loved hanging out at yoga studios and I loved hanging out at juice bars. So back then I hung out at PC Greens. I hung out at the Vitamin Barn. There was a place called Real Raw Live, and there was a raw food restaurant called Giuliano's in Santa Monica. I think it was just called Raw. And I loved being around beautiful women, and I loved being around cool people that were into health and wellness. And I just slowly began to evolve into somebody that was super into health and wellness.
Dude, that's incredible. I love this. Such an important message that this was medicine for you. This changed you at a cellular level. I think so often people see sauna, cold exposure, fitness, eating healthy as, just something you do for performance, something athletes do. I mean, you literally use that as your medicine to improve your skin health, to improve your hair, to obviously gain healthy muscle mass and healthy weight. I love that angle of it. So it's not the importance of it for recovery. It's the importance of it for general well-being. And, ultimately all of the things I do, the aesthetic is a byproduct. I'm doing it because I feel like the best version of myself every single day. I have mental clarity. I have unlimited energy. I have physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength from this, routine that we do of, workout, sauna, cold exposure. So I think the message of, going from such a place of malnutrition to such a place of thriving is such an important message for people to hear that, these things affect you at a cellular level.
Yeah, I didn't know that at 52 years old, I was going to be in the greatest shape of my life by a fucking long shot. Yeah. I mean, I would beat the shit out of the 20-year-old version of me from 32 years ago. I had no idea. But I'm an addict. So once I started to feel the benefits, of the yoga and the breath work and lifting weights, I didn't get super into the weight stuff until I moved here to Austin and I got invited over to Cal Callahan's house and Kyle Kingsbury was there and like a bunch of like bros, like a bunch of like really super fit guys. Yeah. And they invited me to do a workout and I had just turned 50. And at that point I had some injuries. I had some stuff from the past that kind of came back and was haunting me in my neck. I was at my buddy Kelly's wave pool, 4.5 years ago. And this guy that's a gambler bet me $10,000 in cash that I couldn't get barreled. And he wasn't doing it because he wanted to gamble. He was doing it because he knew that I would take the bait and he wanted to watch me fall because I'm not a surfer and he had seen me try to surf many times and he had watched me fall many times and it was really funny to him, but a little bit of a sadistic prick. And I said, no, I'm not gonna fucking do it. And then he said $10,000 cash free roll, meaning if I don't get barreled, I don't owe him a penny. But if I do get barreled, I get to 10,000. That was a bet that I had to take. And Lewis Hamilton was there, and I had watched Lewis in 24 hours get barreled, not realizing what a fucking specimen that guy is. Lewis ended up getting barreled, and at that point, I'm like, I'm gonna fucking do this. And so I had 2 days to do it, and not the next day, but the following day, early in the morning, Raimana, the jet ski driver, dropped me into the wave and I caught it and I got barreled. Once I got barreled, once I felt that feeling, I had to think back of all the tens of thousands of times I drove PCH, because I lived in Malibu for 29 years, and how many times I made disparaging remarks about surfers and look at these fucking losers and they should grow up and what a bunch of fucking idiots and they should go get jobs and whatever. Eric, when I got inside that barrel and I was going this way and the water came over me, time literally stopped.
So
I was moving, obviously, but time stopped. And when I realized I was in the barrel, and I remembered what Raimana had said, when you're in the barrel, just lean forward slightly and you're going to shoot out of the barrel. And I'm in the barrel, time stops, and I took a breath to calm myself down. And as I breathed, the wave breathed with me. The universe breathed with me. I was literally at one with everything. It was one of the most spiritual experiences that I've ever had without plant medicine. One of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had. And I came out, I shot out of that barrel, I threw my arms up in the air. Everyone that worked at the ranch, everyone came running out of the building, screaming, throwing their arms in the air. Well, again, like a good addict, once I had that feeling, I wanted it again and again and again. And I kept going and I kept going and I kept falling and I kept falling. And the more I fell, the more my shoulder was hurting. And then I'd be cold. So I would go to, get out, take a shower. And as I would struggle to take my wetsuit off, it would hurt more and more and more. So Advil, CBD, whatever, to make it go away. When I woke up the next morning, I could barely move this shoulder. And within a couple of days, I couldn't wash underneath this armpit. I couldn't even lift my shoulder up. I tore my bicep slightly. I tore my supraspinatus and I tore my labrum. Damn. So I had these nagging injuries that I just sort of conceded to. I just figured, well, I'm 50, so that's that. Like, I'm not going to be doing any physical shit anymore. I had 2 herniated discs in my back that were a result of drinking and using. I had totaled 3 cars in a 10-month period, and I refused medical attention because I didn't want to go to jail. I got a cab, and I got the fuck out of there. People still use cabs back then. And the herniated discs, when I was working out, it got worse and worse and worse and worse. Well, obviously hindsight's 20/20, right? And this is not going to come as any great surprise to you, but I had no form. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So when I was trying to mimic what other people were doing in the gym, I blew out my back, my shoulder was fucked, and I had some issues with my neck. That day when Cal and Kyle and all them invited me to work out, I had been sedentary for quite a while. About a year I'd been sedentary and pain and inflammation everywhere. They encouraged me to do what I could. They had me doing box jumps. They had me doing Swedish ball sacks or something. They had me climbing a rope up as high as I could. Yeah. Dude, I finished that workout. It was only 25 minutes and it was a circuit. You had, 60 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 60 seconds on. I finished that workout, no joke, pain-free. I felt no pain anywhere. Now, the next day I felt an immense amount of pain, right?
But soreness.
Soreness. But Cal invited me back the following Wednesday, and I started going every Wednesday. And the more I went, strangely enough, the less pain I had. And then eventually Collective opened. I hired Kelly Mathews, the greatest fucking trainer on the planet. If you guys don't know who Kelly Mathews is, please look at her Instagram and you'll see what I mean. She is amazing. And she then taught me proper form, and she had me doing all that shit that I was watching you do on your Instagram that looked so cool, but I thought, it's self-indulgent. I don't have time for that shit. And now it's the stuff that I do, 3 times a week, 4 times a week.
Yeah.
I fucking love it.
Yeah, it's so energizing. When I'm moving, I feel best. Like yesterday or 2 days ago, we flew back from New York. Like I feel like shit when I have to sit for too long. I feel great when I'm moving often. And then to your point of, a lot of people, they say deadlifts cause injuries and a lot of these movements cause injuries. It's the form that causes the injury, and it takes time to get the proper form. But as long as you have the proper form, you're giving yourself enough rest in between sets, like the movements are not problematic. It's your form that is problematic. So it's learning from someone who's experienced, like what is the correct form to do a proper deadlift. And once you have that dialed in, then you can add weight. This is kind of my problem with CrossFit in that, oftentimes taking a CrossFit class, you're coming off of sitting all day in the office, and then you do a little 5-minute warm up, and then, you're doing a movement like a deadlift, a snatch, a clean and jerk under duress when you haven't really developed the proper form yet. And when I first got into CrossFit, we're going back 7-8 years now. I got injured constantly, and I thought it was CrossFit. I blamed it on the movements, but no, it was my fault. I was competitive. I was trying to go too hard, too heavy, too soon, and I didn't learn the proper form to start with. So yeah, important lesson on that. And then mindset. So, I'm like you. I also have an addictive personality. I had my party days in my 20s, and, ultimately I got pretty addicted to triathlon, specifically Ironman, which, training for Ironman, you're training, to get to Kona 25, 30 hours a week, running, biking, and swimming. It's a lot. But, that chapter of my life taught me something really important that, we have the David Goggins of the world, who I think has a very important message, but I think you need to be careful of not getting addicted to that savage mindset. I think it's important for windows of time to build like that mental grit and that resilience that you can then take with you to be a better business owner, to be a better entrepreneur, to be a better father, a better husband. But I think don't get addicted to that savage mindset because, like your barrel roll scenario, you got addicted to that, which wasn't good for you. It wasn't good. So my Ironman years, I'm glad I did it. And, I'm glad I took it to the extreme that I took it to. But, ultimately those last couple years in Ironman, I wasn't the best version of myself. I did not feel good. I was achy. I was exercising just to get that high again. And I had to go further and longer and harder to get that high. And when I phased out of it, I was pretty banged up from the sport, just a high volume of running. And again, really using exercise as a high, because back then I didn't have the understanding of sauna, cold exposure, all of those things. It wasn't until I moved to Denver in 2017 that I started those practices. And then that gave me another outlet for that same high, but in a recovery modality, doing the cold exposure, doing the sauna. You get a very similar serotonin hit from it. You get a very similar, window into the future, that mental clarity that you get from doing it. So all of a sudden I realized like, oh wow, I don't have to exercise every day to get that boost in serotonin. I can do these other things and then feel really good the next day. So my routine has shifted quite a bit since those years, where I kind of go back and forth from a heavy gym day, doing CrossFit type workouts, but training like a CrossFit athlete, not just going in and doing Metcons. It's like long warm-ups and, strength training, Olympic lifting, and then the Metcon when my nervous system is warmed up, my movement patterns are warmed up, and then accessory work. And then the next day I'll do kind of a longer aerobic day. So maybe trail running, mountain biking, road cycling, and then back to the gym. So I go back and forth with them. And then every day I have a religious recovery routine that I do that sets me up for success the next day. So I feel good, I'm not just using it for the high, like I literally feel like the best version of myself. So I think it's important to, have these windows of time where you go all in, where maybe you take it to an extreme, but understanding that you took it to an extreme so that you don't do that again with something else and just continually pound yourself into the ground. Yeah.
And your energy levels and your enthusiasm are contagious. Watching you and Brian Mazza and a few of the other guys training at Collective. And I appreciate you guys constantly inviting me in, but I'm not there yet. Sure. I'm not at that level yet, but to watch it was one of the most inspiring things I've ever seen. And it's like, it's you know, it's one thing to know someone on Instagram, and then it's another thing to stand face to face with them and sort of breathe one another's air and feel one another's energy. And now that I've met you and I've gotten to know you, I appreciate so much more what you're doing on Instagram and watching you teach. I mean, you're a teacher. People watch you. And you and Brian are my absolute favorites.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, on Instagram, 100%. I love watching what you guys do. I love the positive message. I feel like with more people like you guys, we can shift what's going on, because right now it's a fucking shit show. I mean, right now, the amount of people that just want to spew negativity and try to take people down, and beyond cancel culture, you know, cancel culture is one thing in itself. And I don't even, those are people who are asleep. But just beyond that, there's like people who, they typically have private accounts. They typically have very few followers, and they never have a fucking positive thing to say about anything. And if I'm following you and you start talking about your political opinions and I disagree with your political opinions, then I go, oh, okay, well, he thinks that way and I think this way. So, you know, I don't have to pay attention when he starts talking about politics, right? But most people out there see that as an opportunity to, for the first time in their life, have a voice.
Yeah, attack
and talk shit. Like I did a podcast for my friend Jay and Steph, and I was so excited because I love them. They do Phase 6 Fitness. They do this like mobility stuff, which is, it's super fun. In person, in real life, they are definitely way up there as some of the greatest people I've ever met, and I love being able to work with them. But I did a podcast with them, and then I was so excited when it came out, and then you look at the comments underneath, and people are like going nuts, like attacking me and you know, and I didn't take the bait. I didn't respond. I was listening to a podcast with Ricky Gervais and Sam Harris, Dan Harris, somebody like that. And the Harris guy was saying, how do you not respond? Because I see all these negative comments on your thing. And he said, well, Sam, imagine you and I are both super successful and we're multimillionaires and we're walking down the street. It's a beautiful day and we have these amazing significant others and we have this deep, meaningful life. And the Harris guy was like, yeah, okay, so I can buy that because it's true, right? He said, so imagine we're walking down the street and we walk past a garbage dump, a garbage heap. And there are two bums in the garbage heap digging through the garbage, and they see us and they start screaming and cussing at us. Would you respond? Yeah, and he's like, no, of course not. And he goes, well, that's social media.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so confrontational. And yeah, I have a barometer for positive energy and negative energy, you know, and that's just negative energy. So I'm the same as you. When people comment, you know, asshole things, like, just move on. Like, like putting myself in that person's shoes, I have no idea what their life experiences have been. I have no idea if they just watch politics all day and they watch confrontation all day and they grew up in confrontation and that's just what they were taught. So yeah, I think you get to a point where you don't judge and you don't let that negative energy get to you. You stick to your positive energy lane and, you know, you keep trying to share your message and your voice with the world that, you know, you're getting 200 positive messages to one negative message. Right. So like, okay, I think I'm helping people, you know, I don't think this one person, you know, is correct in their assessment of how I conduct my life and how I post on my social media. I mean, I've had some people that say, you know, you just work out all day and then recover all day and you expect us to do that all day. And I'm like, you know, I've been able to build my life around these practices that literally make me feel like the best version of myself. And I really think ancestrally, like that's what we're supposed to do. I don't think our ancestors were sitting around all day watching TV. Like they were moving, they were hunting, they were doing physical activities. So, you know, it makes sense to me, again, through evolution, that I should be moving all day and I should be kind of living my life the way I live it. And I'm so grateful that I can make a living doing that. And like, I don't judge someone who's a stockbroker. I don't judge an accountant. Like, I'm not going to go and attack someone for what their profession is and how they live their life. And, Yeah, again, it's just like, all right, well, I just can't put myself in that person's shoes, so I have no idea what experiences they've had through life that, made them judge me in that way.
But if they wanted to live a similar lifestyle, they could.
Yeah.
The challenge is they don't believe in themselves and they believe in luck. They think luck is like a real defining factor in somebody's life. And, the other day I was watching a video of this older woman. I love her. And she was saying that, you have to realize that you're the scriptwriter, you're the actor, you're the producer, you're the director.
I control my destiny. Yep.
And someone underneath was like, oh, that's only true if you're rich and you live in a country that's rich and powerful. And I'm like, of course, somebody's got to get in there and try to make a disparaging remark and bring down the energy of this woman's beautiful, beautiful message. Now, look, I'm realistic to understand. Had I recovered in Toledo, Ohio, which is where I'm from, I could have made a lot of amazing friendships and relationships and worked really hard. I probably would not be living in an expensive house and driving an expensive car and having a chain of health food restaurants all over the country. I might have one. I might have a nice car. I understand that geographics and zip codes definitely play into one's ability to move up. But my dad was living in a tent in Jordan. My mother was in a work camp, in this lifetime, a slave, right? Both of them were able to leave their countries, immigrate legally into this country, learn the language, and live the American dream. So I totally disagree with that guy is saying. Now, if you're living in Dubai or London or Paris or New York or LA, your chances of making things happen faster, of course, like I said, versus Toledo, Ohio or Sri Lanka, right? But if you don't like where you're living, move. If you don't have the money to move, save your money and move. And anything is possible for anyone. And also, I don't look like you. I aspire to look like you and move like you. I do still have some stuff to do with my business and my own personal brand and my books and all that stuff. So I do have a lot of stuff going on in the day. But so what I do then is I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning versus 7 in the morning. Or shit, let's be honest. A lot of people wake up at 9 or 10 or 11, right? So I get up a couple hours earlier, and then that way I'm able to make the time to mimic what you and Brian and everybody is doing, so I can start to resemble that and have the same type of energy. And better than anybody, the more I move my body, the more I oxygenate my brain, the more I clean up my diet, the more I stretch and recover and put good things into my body, the more energy I'm going to have, the better my brain is going to function. I mean,
yeah, I agree. Like, these things, they fuel productivity. They fuel creativity. You're going to be better by doing those things. So it's not so much giving something else up. It's doing this because everything else is going to be more efficient. I like explaining it as, like, if I go too long without doing sauna and cold exposure, all of a sudden, like, all of these to-dos and all of these stressors, they mount up vertically on my head, and it just starts to feel daunting. And then literally, as soon as I get in that cold water for 3 minutes, I get out, all of a sudden that whole list, it just became horizontal. I can tiptoe over them. It's amazing, like, the mindset and grit. Just what a 3-minute ice bath will do for you. Jumping in a cold stream for 3 minutes, take a cold shower, whatever, just getting in cold water. Like, it makes everything seem achievable. And yeah, going back to your points about New York, Dubai, wherever, your environment and the people that you surround yourself with are going to be incredible indicators of what decisions you're making each day, and it's going to shape your reality. So, me moving to Denver, that shifted my reality. It's a different environment. It begs me to be outside all the time. There's cold streams everywhere. All my friends here have saunas. I have a gym right here at the house. I have red light therapy. I have 2 saunas here. Like, I've built my environment around this stuff because I know that is going to shape the decisions I make every single day. And then, just like it probably took you 10 years of these, decisions, whether they were, you knew that they were happening or you didn't know they were happening that got you on Skid Row. And then after that, it was 10 years of nourishment, exercise, sauna, all of that habit stacking that got you to where you are now. So none of this happens quick, but yeah, the biggest things you can do are changing your environment, changing the people around you. That's going to have a huge effect on what your reality becomes and the opportunities that are presented to you. And I really do feel like luck is a function of the opportunities that you create for yourself, putting yourself in the right scenarios. You know, we met in person at HPLT, Brian Mazza's incredible high performance lifestyle retreat. I go to things like that because I know I'm going to bump shoulders with like-minded people that I want to interact with, that I want to be in my inner tribe, because I know by being associated with those people, we're both going to add a ton of value to each other's lives. So yeah, just like being mindful of your environment, being mindful of the decisions you're making based on your environment every day, and being mindful of the people you're surrounding yourself with and how those shape the decisions that you're making.
And I think the precursor to being mindful is taking ownership, having sovereignty over yourself. Mm-hmm. The giant shift for me came 8 months in when I got a call from my mom that she had cancer. Mm-hmm. And I had no money at that time. I couldn't even go back and visit her, let alone help her. And although I had reached a physical bottom with drugs and alcohol 8 months prior, which is what got me, on someone's sofa and going to 2 meetings a day, 7 days a week, and doing menial labor and, washing dogs, washing cars, whatever I had to do to survive, which began to clean my mind and ultimately set me up for success. But it was in the process of, and I don't know where it was because I was obsessively consuming the movie The Secret, horrible documentary, but amazing documentary, but horribly shot, directed, produced, whatever. It's just fucking cheesy and hokey, but the message is brilliant. And the message, by the way, comes from a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Waddles. His last name is Waddles. Mm-hmm. That's where she borrowed Think and Grow Rich and The Science of Getting Rich is where the majority of The Secret came from. So I was obsessively consuming Tony Robbins, Wallace D. Waddles, Think and Grow Rich, As a Man Thinketh was another huge one. Mm-hmm. And it was in the process and somewhere within those books that I realized oh, fuck. So everything going on in my life right now is because of me. Mm-hmm. So yes, definitely being in Malibu, I was in Topanga at that time, which was a short drive to Malibu. That guy letting me sleep on his sofa, and then going to meetings in Malibu, and then eventually meeting my sponsor and, renting a room for him in exchange for cleaning the cars and cleaning the dogs, definitely gave me exposure to what was possible. Mm-hmm. But I spent 2.5 years character assassinating anybody that came within my line of sight, right? If I saw a guy like you, I was so resentful and so jealous because I thought that life is something that happens to you versus, taking sovereignty of myself and realizing that I'm responsible for everything in my life. Mm-hmm. So my mom got sick, and in the pain, in that bottoming out, in that moment, I realized, wait, this is not my swim coach's fault. I'm 34. Mm-hmm. This is not my stepbrother's fault. This is not my mom and dad's fault. This is not my school, the teachers that had failed me and the priests that had gotten creepy with me or whatever the fuck excuses that I had used up until that point became null and void. Mm-hmm. And I realized in that moment that everything going on in my life, both good and bad, were me and my doing. Mm-hmm. I had set myself up to be in that position. Mm-hmm. So when I think about people living in Waco, Texas, the only reason we ever even heard of Waco, Texas was because of the David Koresh and the cult that was out there, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this cute little couple who were working their asses off and being good parents and being good spouses to one another, because of their hard work, they had attracted a television network. And that television network came in and gave them a little television show. Mm-hmm. And that couple is Chip and Joanna. Mm-hmm. And Chip and Joanna are now worth $500 million.
Incredible.
$500 million. Because my story is nothing. My story is stupid. So what? Oh, I'm a millionaire. I opened, I wrote a book, or I opened a chain of health food stores, or I started a yoga studio, or whatever the fuck I did. I didn't cure cancer. I haven't done anything to fundamentally change the world yet. But I went from a hopeless state of despair and not so quiet desperation into a giant, big, full life beyond my wildest dreams. So yeah, I just want anybody under any circumstances to understand that if an idiot like me can do what I did with no education, as a high school dropout, as a ex crackhead junkie, whatever the fuck label you want to put on me, to where I am today. I mean, anything we want, it's out there and it's available. But we have to take responsibility for ourselves. And here's your two options. You can have excuses. Oh, well, I live in Waco, Texas. Oh, well, I was born in the South and I'm this color, I'm that color. And, I got raped, I got molested, I got what? You can have excuses or you can have a life. You can't have both.
Yep. Yeah, get out there and do it. I love that message. This 9 Elements episode is brought to you by Restore Hyper Wellness. Did you know that regular exposure to saunas can help increase your lifespan? Saunas also lower your risk of cardiovascular disease, and exposure to controlled heat stress can reduce oxidative stress. It is the reason most homes in Finland have a sauna. Heat also helps reduce pain and swelling, improves skin health and clarity, and optimizes mood and energy. As we're discussing in this episode with Khalil, heat was used as a means to change his life at a cellular level. So sweat it out, unburden your body from stress, sore muscles, and free radicals with an ancient practice designed for the modern age with Restore's state-of-the-art infrared saunas. Lay back, relax, and unwind as your body burns calories and finds relief from inflammation. Release minor pain, accelerate athletic recovery, and boost circulation and cardiovascular health, all in 40 minutes or less. 9 Elements listeners can receive 20% off your first Restore service using the code ELEMENTS20 when making your first appointment. The code again is ELEMENTS20 to save 20% when booking your first service with Restore. I like to think of chapters, or life as chapters, and I think we all go through these surviving chapters where life might not be great, and then we have these thriving chapters where through just habit stacking and through taking on various practices that make us feel better each day, we're able to go from those surviving chapters to a thriving chapter. And yeah, I mean, everyone has some kind of story, some kind of trauma, whether it's, what someone would consider trauma or not. Like, we all go through shit. And yeah, the mindset of like, this is happening to me for outside reasons, or, oh, okay, this happened to me, somehow I got myself into that situation and now I have to get myself out of that situation, is a super important mindset to have. I remember when I was back in Syracuse, New York, one of my friends who owns a successful gym there, he was speaking at this lunch talk, and someone asked him why he was so motivated to, work out and run multiple businesses. And, he was just someone who had a lot of grit and perseverance and was always pushing the ball forward. And he said, well, I look out my gym each day and I see, homeless people walking out there. And I realize that I'm only 3 decisions away from being that person. So I want to make sure that my days each day are built around those things that I know are going to keep me where I am and moving forward. And I think that's super important. If I have some down days, like, I know that I can resort to working out with my amazing friends here in Denver and like shifting that bad mood to a great mood. I can do a sauna session with friends. I can jump in cold water, and it's instantly going to shift my mindset from I'm a victim, I feel like shit, my energy levels are low, I have so much stress, to I'm capable of anything. I can take on all of these challenges. The future is so bright for me. And yeah, again, it's like some of these activities that provide that mindset that, you do that for 10 years and all of a sudden you get to a place like where you are.
Yeah. And what's important to understand is when you have something to offer, and it can be as simple as this. You can literally make smoothies for a living. Yeah. Or this is an iced matcha latte, but you can literally make smoothies for a living and have something to offer and build some of the most incredible relationships that anybody could ever imagine. And as you were talking about the sauna, I was reflecting on an experience that I had recently where that he wouldn't care if I mention his name, but Huberman, right?
Yeah. I love his podcast.
Yeah. So, I think we all love him, or most of us love him, because the guy's brilliant and he's authentic and he doesn't have ulterior motives. Andrew just literally wants to help people.
Yep.
Truly wants to help people.
Yep.
Now, he had reached out that he was going to be in town and he wanted to hang out. Mm-hmm. And, I immediately I'm going to take him to Collective, and I'm going to take him to ABBA, and I'm going to do this, and we're going to do this. And I wasn't looking at my motives. I was just being a pile driver. I was like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. Well, ultimately what ended up happening was he wanted to come here, mm-hmm. and he wanted to cook with his beautiful, amazing, soon-to-be baby mama or fiance, or I don't know what he would refer to as, but the amazing Anya. Mm-hmm. He wanted to come here, mm-hmm. and he wanted to cook, mm-hmm. and he wanted to do sauna. Mm-hmm. And at first I'm like, but I'm going to show off, and I'm going to take them to this restaurant, I'm going to take them to this gym or whatever. Yeah. And that's not what he wanted. Mm-hmm. He wanted to come hang out. Mm-hmm. And when he came to hang out, we talked about life. We talked about punk rock. Mm-hmm. We talked about surfing. We talked about childhood and our parents and the dysfunctions and life's lessons and love. And we had such a we were in that sauna longer than I've ever been in a sauna before. And we shared so much at such a heartfelt level. And it was such a beautiful experience. So something that I used to get mad when I was a kid growing up and as a young adult growing up, because I didn't really have a whole lot of amazing friends. I hung out with a lot of lower companions, or I was the lower companion, mm-hmm. right? And as I began to say no to many of those relationships to open up room in my life for more amazing relationships, I realized that if you have something to offer, mm-hmm. then you begin to really truly build some awesome relationships where it's a symbiotic relationship, and there's so much amazing energy to be shared there. Mm-hmm. And so, because, I felt guilty because I mentioned Kelly's wave pool, and I can imagine if anybody's a surfer out there, like, oh, you're fucking lucky. Of course you get to go to his fucking wave pool, and that's not really surfing, or whatever negative thing that people mm-hmm. have commented on my post before. Mm-hmm. And when I opened up my shop, those types of people came in, and because I didn't want anything other than to treat them, because as you experience yourself, my favorite thing to do is to treat people. Yep. And nourish people, because I know what Sean bringing those mason jars full of juices and
for you.
I know what it did for me. Mm-hmm. And so I want to do that for other people. I want people to walk away feeling fulfilled, feeling inspired, feeling nourished, feeling loved, feeling cared for. And there's nothing better. I mean, you would think, you make some money and then you're going to get the right watch and that's going to make you feel good, or you're going to take that trip to Bali or wherever. And not that I haven't done all of those things, but none of those things will ever compare to being able to open my house and open my heart to someone who I look up to and admire, and I get to learn from, and I have the pleasure and the joy of being around.
Yep.
And, you know, when you and I met, one of the first things you said within minutes of meeting me, you got to come down to Florida. I'm going to be down there for a month. Come and train, come and hang out. You got to come to Moab. You got to come to Denver anytime you want. If you need help, you know, finding a place in Denver, you know, to open a Sunlife,
Yep.
like that's ultimately what we all want, because underneath all of this, we are hunters and gatherers. We are a tribe, and
Yep.
we're always searching for our tribe, and we want to be a part of an awesome tribe.
Yep.
So cleaning myself up, getting my shit together, crawling my way out of hell, reading as many books as I could, taking my vitamins, my supplements, doing my little workouts, being able to have a beautiful house like this and a sauna and the cold tub and all that shit, like have something to offer.
Yep.
Have a, you know, a good, clean heart with good intentions, and watch the magic take place.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Authenticity is so attractive in people. Just someone like living out their passions and purpose. I chatted with Ken Rideout. I don't know if you know him or not. He is one of the fastest marathoners in the world, and he's turning 51 years old, I think, this week. He runs a sub 2:30 marathon.
Holy shit.
51 years old. Incredible human being. And, you know, he has this very successful financial firm, and all of the opportunities have come to him because of running, because of, you know, him just doing what he loves and sharing that with the world. He attracts so much positive energy. And yeah, I agree. I'm the same as you. Like this home that we have in Denver, this outdoor gym area that we have, the outdoor sauna that we just put in, the cold that we just put in, it's as much for us as it is for others. Like we want people here experiencing that same feeling that we experience when we use it, because I get to experience that through them. Like seeing someone's face just light up after an amazing workout, seeing 20 people here on a Saturday, fist bumping and like just tremendous energy after a workout, you know, having people come and do the sauna and cold with us. And like what you said with Andrew Huberman, having a captivating conversation. That is typically where I schedule meetings. Someone reaches out to me on social media. They want to chat about something. Come over. Let's do a sauna session, because I know we're both going to be in a captive environment without our phones. We're going to have a super vulnerable, engaging conversation with our serotonin levels high. So a lot of people obviously ask to come and work out, and I'm like, you're not going to get my full attention. You're just going to watch me work out, basically, because that's like my training time. That's my me time. Like I'm trying to advance the ball forward for myself with a lot of these workouts I do. Where there's the sauna, I'm yours. Like I'm captive to you. We're going to have a great conversation. Let's do it. So I love that he opted for that, as I would too, because then you guys are both going to be completely present with each other. So yeah, sauna experiences allow for those incredible conversations. And then because we did it multiple nights after he left, and you know, I had my friends that own ABBA, or they're part owners of ABBA, you know, oh, I thought you were going to bring that guy by or whatever. And then some of the guys at the gym were like, oh, I thought you were going to, you know, bring that guy by, whatever. Mm-hmm. I started to check my motivation. Mm-hmm. And yes, of course, I was excited to see them and him in particular, because I had never spent any quality time with him other than at Belcampo years ago. Mm-hmm. Then I got to look at my motivation and like, what was my real motivation for wanting to drag him to my gym? Probably some ego, you know, hey, look who this cool human being is that I'm friends with. Of course. It stokes your ego. That's great that you were able to assess that and realize that. Where, you know, you probably had an even better time just, you know, checking your ego and having an incredible conversation with him at your home with no one else seeing it, you know, and for him too, a memory. Yeah, it couldn't have gone better. I didn't want the night to end. I mean, he ended up literally falling asleep mid-conversation on our sofa. I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. It was like 10:45 at night. He's on the sofa snoring, and his girlfriend is you know, teasing him because he's snoring, and we're all laughing. And it was one of the most beautiful evenings I've ever had. And I look awesome. Yeah, and I look forward to more. And all of that came from, you know, finding out what my purpose is, not my passion, my purpose. I'm passionate about my purpose, but there's so much emphasis put on, like, you know, find your passion.
my passion was like dating models and shooting cocaine and, you know, wanting to be a rock star. Like, I'm like, let's set my passion aside for a moment. What's my purpose? My purpose is, I believe, inspiring people to first and foremost get sober. Because if you're drinking or doing drugs to the point of failure, and that's between you and yourself, or you and God, if you're drinking and using drugs as a means of escaping, please use me as an example of somebody that recovered from what seemed to be a situation that nobody would recover from, right? Yeah. And then beyond that, not just stopping drinking and using drugs, but then truly finding my purpose, and then becoming passionate about my purpose. Like I love the fact that I get messages from people all over the world on a daily basis from my book. People read my book and they find great inspiration in that book. And the fact that somebody that can't spell or can't type can have a best-selling book. And by the way, I put that book out on my own, which is twofold. Number one, I've done really, really well financially from that, because I was too scared to send it off to publishers because I thought nobody would want to read it or nobody would want to give me a book deal. So I ended up doing it through a company called Book in a Box, which is now, I think it's called Scribe. I did it through them. So I published it myself. I printed it myself. I put it on Amazon myself. And for every book that I sell, I make $7 versus getting a tiny little advance and then never seeing a penny, right? But secondly, getting that DM from the 4th grade teacher in Minnesota that can't stop binge eating at night and saying to me, wow, if you could go through what you went through, which is similar to what I went through when I was a child, but I've just never had the guts to tell anybody, not even my therapist. The fact that you can so openly talk about it, you put it out there. Also, the cover of the book, the anti-selfie, you know, of the scabs all over my face, and you know, horrible. Horrible. It's cool to be able to. If I die tomorrow, I know that I've left the world a little bit better than when I found it 52 years ago.
Can't agree more. Yeah, it's so important to, you know, people like you to share your story with the world, because most people are scared to talk about this with someone who hasn't had their life experiences. So, you know, when you know of someone who so publicly shares such horrible life experiences, sure, you're going to be vulnerable to that person because you know they can help you. They went through it, and now, I mean, this podcast is about hyper wellness. Now you're living a life of hyper wellness. So you went from a life of all poison, to all of these hyper wellness practices. So that's so cool that you shared it with the world and people reach out. What's your favorite menu item right now at your restaurant at Sunlife?
My favorite one, we don't have a name for it yet, but I think you know Adam von Rothfelder.
I do.
Do you know Adam? Yeah. Adam, Strong Coffee.
Strong Coffee, sure.
Yeah, Strong Coffee.
Sam Dancer, who's involved with Strong Coffee. He was just in town training before the CrossFit Games for about a month and a half. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with his products. I'm obsessed with the fact that he's such a nerd that he went out of his way to get the theanine and the ashwagandha and use only organic stuff. And it's just like the highest quality. And when I say nerd, he's not a nerd. He's a giant, beautiful ex-Versace model that would beat the shit out of me with both hands tied behind his back. Yeah. But he's a nerd at heart. Like, he's super nerdy about ingredients. So I love Strong Coffee. And I took his product called Black. It's the instant coffee with the mushrooms and the ashwagandha and the theanine. I've been putting Black in with coconut sorbet, and then adding maca and colostrum and collagen and oat milk, or no, hemp milk. And a bunch of other shit, which I can't think of right now, but blending it all together. And then I take this awesome sugar-free fudge and kind of smear it on the inside of the cup. Amazing. And then pour the smoothie on top. So it has this bizarre, like, almost like tie-dye, brown and black tie-dye look to it. And I mean, I'm calling it the Dirty Goat. That won't be the name of it when it goes on the. I'm also putting goat colostrum in it instead of regular colostrum. So that's my go-to every day. I fucking love that smoothie. It'll be on the menu probably in the next couple of weeks. I'm driving my team nuts right now trying to get them to put it on the menu.
I love it. That sounds so good. I can't wait to try it. Give me some of the foods that you would consider to be superfoods. I think we all understand, what we should be eating, organic, real foods, shopping the perimeter of a grocery store. But what are some of those supplements like colostrum that you mentioned, like collagen, like ashwagandha? What would be your Fab 5 or 10 superfoods, adaptogens that you would recommend people incorporate into their diet?
What I've seen some of the best results from is simply amino acid powder, capsule or powder. I prefer the powder. In fact, I like to take the powder. And Huberman's got a new one too. I don't know the name, but I got some. Yeah, momentous. Yes. So they have a great amino blend, and they got a bunch of great stuff. But I like to take the amino powdered amino, and then take it's probably, I might say this wrong, but 5 grams of creatine. Like Thorne makes an amazing creatine. Ben Greenfield has an amazing, not Ben Greenfield, but
Ben is Thorne, isn't he?
No. Ben has it's a terrible name. Keon.
Oh, Keon. You're right, Keon. He used to be a Thorne.
Yeah. Terrible name, amazing products. Yeah. But I put that creatine in with the aminos. And just shake it up and mix it as soon as I'm done working out. That has given me some incredible results. I love magnesium. I think it's highly underrated, and I think most of us are deficient in magnesium. I've been messing with a bunch of different hydration products, and I'm narrowing it down. I still have about 7 in my kitchen. I was doing the really salty one for a while, but but the challenge with that is once I have one of those, I'm kind of done consuming liquids. But some of the other ones I've been able to drink 20 ounces of water again and again and again and again throughout the day versus 20 ounces of water or 30 ounces of water once and then I'm done. I find the more water, spring water I can get into my body by whatever means. For me, I got to mix some shit into it because I fucking hate drinking water. And then if you want to get weird and you want to get into more of the fringe, controversial, I'm sure I'm going to get attacked for bringing this up, but I think one of the most remarkable products out there is a company called Feel Free. And disclaimer, it is kava and kratom. I think it's 9 parts kava and 1 part kratom. If you have any type of issues whatsoever, if you're the type of person that if you open a bag of chips and you finish the whole thing, or you have one beer and don't fuck with it. I am not suggesting that anybody fuck with it. And by the way, I tried it when I was 17 years clean and sober, where I had a life that was so incredible, I didn't have any compulsion to escape from it. But if I were to try something like a Feel Free when I was newly sober and I was hurting so bad and so full of resentment and jealous of everyone, I might think it's a good idea to drink 5 more. So when I talk about this stuff, I'm talking about for me personally. Every Monday and every Friday, I drink a half a bottle of Feel Free, and I throw the other half out.
I love that routine.
For obvious reasons, right? I feel fucking incredible. I do it right before I train, and then that kind of has an afterglow throughout that afternoon. So if I want to do some writing or whatever, but again, that's for me. Right before I did our, and I don't have links for any of this shit. I don't need any of that. But right before I did our podcast, I did a little bit of this Zen, Mito Zen spray, and it's basically a hape. He's got some oxytocin in here and maybe some essential oils or whatever. This is something I would use very, very sparingly as well. Maybe before a podcast to kind of increase, to use it as a nootropic. And I'm always going to have ashwagandha near me. It's always in my backpack. I love ashwagandha. I'm obsessed with CBD. But out of the hundreds and hundreds of CBDs I've tried, there's a dude in Florida that has a company called Elemental Health CBD, and he's got these gummies that, like, again, for me, and very sparingly, once or twice a week, I will take one of these gummies. There's no THC in it. And I will chew one of these gummies. They're expensive. They're probably $5 a gummy. But it knocks my dick in the dirt. So if I do a good thing of magnesium and get some amazing sleep, or if I do some CBD gummies and I get amazing sleep, or I take some ashwagandha before I go to bed and get amazing sleep, my life is infinitely better and I'm much, much more productive. So those are kind of the things that I'm kicking around right now. Hydration, amino acids, my Feel Free Mondays and Fridays, a little bit of the Mitozen spray, maybe twice a month. I love matcha. I recently started importing our matcha and selling it online. So I'm obsessed with matcha. It's got all kinds of ECG shit in it. I don't know, like burns fat, increases cognition, and just fucking tastes awesome. I love matcha. So good.
You're a lot of the stuff you're taking is similar to mine too. So hydration for me, people aren't going to believe it, but I drink 3 gallons typically of water a day. I have a 1 gallon insulated water bottle, and in the morning I'll have 1 gallon of it, while I'm working out, post workout, and then in a sauna session alone. And my sauna sessions are pretty lengthy. I'm doing 3 rounds, 20 to 25 minutes, going in a cold and then back into the sauna. I'll go through another gallon just doing that sauna session. And then typically after the sauna session with dinner, I'm consuming another. And I think we're both using the same electrolytes, because I had a conversation with the founder of Good On Ya a few days ago, and she had mentioned that they had some at Sunlife. So I love the product. It's incredible ingredients. And like you don't feel like you're over consuming sodium by using it. It has like organic coconut water powder in it. It's great. You're just not over consuming, and it's like a light lemonade taste. So I love that product. And electrolytes have been a game changer for me the past few years, especially with all of the sauna sessions I do, just not cramping and allowing me to do the high volume of training and recovery. Creatine. I think creatine is one of the most important supplements that anyone can take, because there are so many studies, and you can go and listen to Andrew Huberman's podcast for all of the scientific research on it, but muscle mass and strength are probably the 2 biggest indicators of health span and lifespan. So how much muscle mass you're able to retain and how much strength you have. Obviously, strength is correlated to muscle mass, and there's more that goes into that than just strength training, but strength training is a big component. Having enough protein obviously is a big component. But creatine is going to help with gaining and retaining muscle mass. So my morning cocktail is colostrum, creatine, beet powder.
For the nitrous oxide.
Yep, nitric oxide. I do a lot of endurance stuff, so I want a big engine. And athletic greens. Those are my vitamins, minerals. Like you, in the evenings, that's also when I will do magnesium, L-theanine, nano CBD. I take a product called Beam Dream that has all of those different ingredients in it. So you have like your wind up routine in the morning, and then that wind down routine. Check them. I'll send it to you. I'll send you Beam Dream.
Please.
Incredible product, incredible taste, and that has become like our dessert at night. Like, we look forward to it. I have it with goat milk at night. Teaspoon of honey.
What's the form? It's a powder?
It's a powder. Yep.
Wow. Oh, I can't wait to try. I love sleep. Love
so important.
I don't like. There's this running joke. I'm going to be a LA douchebag name dropper, but because I have something to offer, and because I didn't ask for anything, what ended up happening was I got invited to the mythical Casamigos party by Randy and Cindy.
Cool.
And I didn't go. And then the next year I got invited again and I didn't go. And then I saw Randy and he said, "Hey, I'm surprised you didn't come to the party." First of all, I was incredibly flattered that he noticed that I wasn't there, because I thought, who gives a shit, right, about the old man that makes smoothies on the corner. But I just took a moment of opportunity to be transparent with him and direct. And I said, here's the deal. I get intense social anxiety around large groups of people, especially if it's in the evening. I love public speaking. I cannot stand parties. And he's like, "Oh, I don't care. Like, you don't." And I'm like, no. Here's what I need you to do, please. don't ever stop inviting me. He's like, but you said you don't want to come. And I said, I'm never going to come. But it means so much to me to feel like I'm a part.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's so cool. And sleep, number one recovery tool. And so a lot of that for me, what you just said, I very, very rarely attend late night outings, even if it sounds like something amazing, like, you know, that party at Casa Amigas, because I know how much it's going to affect my sleep. One of the primary dictators for not getting good sleep is a highly stimulating environment late at night. Yeah. And oftentimes with that highly stimulating environment late at night, you're going to be drinking, you're going to be eating late, you're going to be exposed to bright lights and loud music and all of those things. Oh my God,
they just
rock my sleep. So yeah, we have people here all the time for dinner. You know, we do sauna, we do dinner, and then at like 8:30, people are leaving here. 8:30 to 9:30, we're winding down, and then in bed by 9:30 or 10. And I like to stick to that schedule because, again, sleep is so important for physical performance, mental performance, emotional well-being, all of it. So sleep and highly stimulating environments, avoid them.
Did you read Why We Sleep?
I haven't read it.
Okay, Andrew told me to read it, and then also my buddy Josh, who works with Peter Attia, he said read the book Why We Sleep, and I had heard it on a bunch of podcasts as well. I'm awesome at buying books. I have so many books, both on Audible and on my shelves.
Yeah.
I don't read a lot, but I'm awesome at buying them.
I'm the same way. If someone recommends a book, like, I'll buy this book. I'm definitely going to buy it, but I'll probably never read it. I'm much better at consuming podcasts, either YouTube, watching it at night, or, you know, traveling on a plane. You know, if I'm doing something mundane, biking at a very low intensity, I'll tune into a podcast. That's where I find I learn best. Where can we find your restaurants? Tell us the different locations. I know Austin, several in California. Are you open in Miami now?
Yeah, I've got one in South Beach on Lincoln and Alton, soon to be more down there. There is 8 or 9 in Southern California. There's one in Central California in Marin. There's 2 here in Austin, Texas, and Vegas opens in November.
Amazing. Very cool.
Good for you. And hopefully,
Denver.
maybe Cherry Creek.
Yeah, that'd be a great spot for you.
I love Cherry Creek.
Yeah,
we got it. Away. If someone out there knows Matt Joblin, who's a big real estate developer in Cherry Creek, they need to tell him that he needs to make a nice little 1,500 square foot space for Sunlife Organics.
I love it. I'll pass the word around. Is that where the Equinox is going in? Is he the developer?
Yeah, that's his developer. He's one of the coolest. I know him, and I'm busting his balls right now, but he's one of the coolest, most successful guys I've ever met in my life. I fucking love him. The challenge is the real estate there is in such high demand. There's literally nothing available in Cherry Creek right now.
Yeah, it's such a small area.
Yeah. Yep. So, but I'll get there. I want to do like 4 or 5 in Denver. Each store costs up to $1 million to open. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can build them for $500,000, $600,000, but it takes about $1 million to safely open a store. Mm-hmm. And they don't always work.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had to close 4 Sunlifes during COVID, and we lost millions of dollars, and it was fucking brutal. And I spent a lot of nights up, you know, crying, punching myself in the thigh, like feeling like a fucking failure. Like, I try to make it look as easy as possible on social media or in life in general. I try to always be upbeat and positive because I'm a huge fan of figure skating, female figure skating, which I don't normally bring up or admit. But I really am. I fucking Michelle Kwan and Lucinda Rue, and like, I love female figure skating. Mm-hmm. But one of the most painful experiences for me is when they fall. Mm-hmm. Even though they get back up and even though they finish, I hurt with them.
Yeah, with the crowd on national TV. Yeah.
I don't want people hurting with me. I want to do my triple Lux whatever and land it and get my perfect 10 and inspire everybody. I want to look good. I don't want to look bad in front of people. But there's a lot of pain and a lot of suffering that's involved with being an entrepreneur, and you get pretty fucking banged up. And my only talent is running through walls. That's my only
keep
talent.
going. Keep
going.
swinging. Yeah. 10 swings, you get on first base, 10 more swings, maybe second base, 10 more swings, third base. And then after 40 swings, you got a home run. But that took 12 years to get that home run. That's entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to, my first book, which was the bestseller, which is called I Forgot to Die. That's the first one. That's the one that got all the, the great reviews and everything.
It's a great book.
Thank you. But what ended up happening, Eric, is a lot of people were like, oh, come on, he was fucking living under a bridge smoking crack and now he's a millionaire. What kind of shit is that? Mm-hmm. That's why I wrote the second book. Mm-hmm. The second book, I think, is way better than the first book. The second book is called Remembering to Live. Mm-hmm. But the second book is a how-to manual to go from being piss poor and broke at 33, 34 years old and literally homeless several years into my recovery to where I am today. People don't want to read that shit. People want to believe in luck. People want to believe that I have some great benefactor. That's a rumor, by the way, that there's some great benefactor, that any project that he wants to do, there's this person that magically just writes checks for him to do everything. Now, I understand. Jean Paul DeJoria wrote a check for $1 million for me to bring Sunlife to Austin. That is a true story, right? I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Jean Paul DeJoria. He is donating his portion of the profits for that store on South Congress to feeding homeless people. It's an amazing fucking story. Wow. But people took that story and mixed it with the rest of my story and made it that, oh yeah, that guy just anytime he wants to open a yoga studio or write a book or open a Sunlife, someone just writes him a check. He's got this great benefactor out there. I wish. I don't.
Yeah, I know you don't, and I know how much you care, and I know how hard you work to get where you are today. So I appreciate you sharing your message with the world. I love you, brother. And I had a lot of people yesterday message me when I said that you were going to be coming on the podcast who said, I can't wait to hear him. Aww. So you got a lot of people out there that you inspire. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Restore Hyper Wellness podcast. And if you want to try some of these different things that we've chatted about, like sauna, cold exposure, cryotherapy chambers, Normatec boots, you can use the code ELEMENTS20 at any Restore Hyper Wellness, and you can check out their recovery facility. Oh,
yeah. I'm going. There's one right by Sunlife on no, I haven't been yet, but I'm going. I'm so fucking excited.
You're going to love it. Yeah. The infrared saunas they have there are awesome. They have the enclosed cryo chambers, so not the ones where your head is sticking out. It's fully, and then they have the IV drips, which NAD, I mean, you can do some really powerful. They do, yeah.
Oh, NAD is a miracle drug.
It's incredible.
I don't know if it's a drug, but it's an enzyme, actually. I fucking love NAD. That can actually rewire your neural pathways and help, I know we're closing here, but I used to gamble a lot. I was obsessed with blackjack, and I would also piggyback on my buddies' poker games. I was the type of guy that I would get to Vegas and I wouldn't even go up to my room. I would go straight to the blackjack table. I did 4 sessions of NAD and literally forever lost the desire to gamble.
Incredible. Wow.
What the fuck? I mean, some doctor Andrew could probably tell me why, but to experience something in such a literal manner, I'm telling you, I've been to Vegas since that time 20 times. I go to the spa, I go to Carbone.
Yeah, your mind is completely rewired for what brings you pleasure there.
Yeah, I did the 4th session. I went to Vegas about a month later. I walked in, I looked around, and I just said, I've already won.
Yeah. So cool.
That was it.
9 Elements listeners can receive 20% off your first Restore service using the code ELEMENTS20 when making your first appointment. That code again is ELEMENTS20 to save 20% when booking your first service at Restore.